Division candidate.
Thank you very much, Mr Chair. It's a pleasure to rise and speak on the Local Government Auckland Council Amendment Bill. And I'm sure others have mentioned this, but really it is a very technical bill, a short bill that Labor supports. It was reported back unchanged from Select Committee and basically amends the Auckland Government Act to enable local boards to delegate responsibilities, duties or powers conferred on them. And in the bill, the substantive bit really is the bit that says what they can delegate and the bit that says what they can't delegate. The fact of the matter is, the reason we're here is because of the process used to get this legislation in the first place, which rushed the legislation through under urgency, and many of us will always remember those debates that set up the so-called Auckland Super City. And this is part of that. And as others have mentioned tonight, one of the issues around local boards was actually an absence of a clear outline of their responsibilities established in the Act itself. And so we've all, as Auckland-based MPs, seen a lot of work going on by our local boards, and as others have said, they have made a good fist of it. Most of them, I think, irrespective of their political persuasion, have made a good fist of the job and tried hard to represent local communities. But I'm going to talk about my own board, which has done some very, very good things. But I suppose one of the issues is that ultimately the local boards have still not, I don't think in most communities, been completely understood as to what their powers are and are not. And there's still people who call them community boards, for example. There's still a lot of confusion where the governing body of Auckland Council is called the Council, where in fact it's the governing body, because the Auckland Council is in fact made up of two parts, the governing body and the local boards. The local boards are a vital part of the decision-making process. There's still people in my area that fondly recall the One Tree Hill Borough Council, or the Mount Wellington Borough Council, or the Onehunga Borough Council. But this is because people value the democracy that they had. They elected their councillors, they elected their mayors, they did all of the things that they did. Whereas now you've got local boards that actually, on the whole, represent areas larger than many districts and cities in New Zealand. And so there is a need still to work on what their role is and to clarify it. And AUT have done a report, Super City State of Auckland, which does talk about that and talks about the need for greater clarity around the role of council, both in terms of governing body and local boards. And I think that's a vital conversation that we need to have to strengthen the governance arrangements in Auckland, our largest city. Actually, another one of the significant findings of that report that there are too few Māori, Pacific and ethnic people and younger adults holding elected positions on the council. And also my colleague Denise Roach talked about the council-controlled organisations, specifically mentioned the need to have more women involved in these CCOs. So there are some issues there that the AUT have picked up. I want to talk about my own local board. They have done, I think, a very, very good job. The Maunga-Kia Tamaki local board has two subdivisions. The Maunga-Kia part, which currently is represented by 3 community independents. They've actually been elected unopposed, so they obviously are well regarded in the local community. Simon Randall, Bridget Graham and Brett Clark. And the Tamaki subdivision, which is actually a Labour team. Very good team, yes. Josephine Bartley, Chris Macquarie, Leela Boyle and Alan Verrill. And 3 of those people are standing for election again, just to remind voters, because of course voting in the local government elections is very, very important. So Alan Verrill and Chris Macquarie and Josephine Bartley are all standing for re-election. Getting back to what they've done, Mr Chair, the major things that this local board, the Maunga-Kia Tamaki local board, is that they have delivered on the Onehunga Foreshore project. They actually control the funding of a substantial restoration of the Onehunga Foreshore, something that the community has fought for over many, many years. They are delivering a music and arts centre in Glen Innes. They have done a huge amount to fund community events. One thing I want to particularly look at is their focus on housing, a big issue in the area, and they have developed a housing warrant of fitness scheme, Mr Chair.
Carol, I'm called. Phil Twyford.
Mr Chairman, the theme that underlies this whole debate, sir, is democracy, and a number of colleagues